All right, I should be recording. This is a second conversation between me and Toady UK, and still discussing the kinetic energy formula in bulk and the individual experiments that are relevant to, in one way or another, proving beyond the reasonable person's doubt, okay, the credibility or integrity of what really happened 300 years ago when they decided to take mv and then mv squared and choose a side, and I would argue they choose poorly, and I think I can defend that argument. And so basically, this conversation is about an outsider viewing it as a debate and his observations of how the debate's going. And based on what evidence people are able to provide. So we are right now focused on an experiment that's done, I think, by a high school teacher. It's a pretty good film of a two-cart collision with a double mass, and but again it has issues, as they all have, and so we'll discuss some of that and the view forward. So, hi Toady.
Hi Gary, great to see you again.
Yeah.
It is possible to talk to Gary without whatever shouting and drama, right? I can vouch for that. Which is great, because sometimes if you watch, it's very easy to get the wrong impression of people. Which I myself have had. So a couple of things, Gary, to your point. And I'll kind of bring people up to date, and then we can talk about Tobin's or the experiment, right? Because I think we probably should cover that as well, just to bring people sort of up to date, because I've been busy, and I know you've been busy doing some research. I've been also sort of updating my PDFs. I like these PDFs just because I like to kind of keep a running commentary of the math, right? Which I made some mistakes. So thank you to the number of people, right, contacted me to point out that I had assumed incorrectly that they were, the lady in this video was using the same experiment or the same technique that Lewin was, with the photodiodes and like a little bit of card on the back of the trucks. They're not. It appears that she is using the timer interval of the length of the cart, which changes the numbers, and I have recalculated them, and we'll touch on that in a sec. The other thing I'm doing is, having looked now at two experiments, right, I have a slightly different view to Gary at the moment, which we will discuss. I think both of them are pretty consistent in the result, which really gives me a big problem, because it means, or it appears to me at the moment, this could change again because it seems to change daily, that kinetic energy is being conserved, but there is an increase in momentum, right, which makes very little sense, as we've discussed at length. So because there are imperfections and we're making assumptions essentially in these experiments, I think that the route forward is twofold. And I've read some other message boards where people have been talking about this topic. So I'm proposing to Gary at the moment that what I'm going to do, because of my background in debating within that flat earth community, there's a lot of very good science and educators in that community. I'm reaching out to a couple of folks there, and to Gary at the same time, with a document that I'm putting together which explains, essentially what we believe the challenge to be. And then Gary can comment on that as well if I misrepresent something in this document. It will point to the two experiments, and then it will go hopefully at the heart of the matter of what is possibly going on. And we hope to try to set up, on Gary's channel, a proper debate with, someone who is fit really to debate Gary. My background in physics is not good enough to do this. And I realise that, accept that. So, as a sort of collaborator, I'm going to reach out and try and involve some other people so we can have a proper debate over ideas and data, and hopefully take it forward that way. The second piece is, if that generates some level of interest, and anyway, we might be able to find someone who possesses the equipment to actually do the experiment. I say properly, but, revealing all of the data, right? And it's a very simple experiment. You need to have an air track, you need to have a cart of one weight, cart double the weight. You need to collide them. We need to see what the weights are. We need to see the speeds, and we need to know that those speeds are calibrated accurately. It's not really a lot that we actually need, but unfortunately it does seem at the moment to be lacking in YouTube and other formats that I've actually looked at. So hopefully we can also find someone who's got that equipment, and they can do that experiment, and then that will give us plenty of data to scratch our heads over. It may be also that while we're trying to do that, that if we have the debate, another better qualified educator, and I'm talking at the moment to someone who is a space scientist and physicist, teacher of physics, so he should be hopefully well qualified, may be able to point out, right, what we're doing wrong here or incorrect assumptions. It's very important. I'm sure Gary will talk in a sec because I've been monologuing, but it's very important that someone doesn't just say, I can prove mathematically to you that kinetic energy is conserved, right? The maths works. I don't doubt the maths works, right? Of course it does. It'd be stupid to say otherwise. The maths works. Of course the math works. But that isn't, or doesn't seem really to be the issue here yet. You can't have one or the other, as Gary has said many times. And if you look at the momentum side of things, if you're conserving that kinetic energy, you look at momentum, it seems to be out. So back to you, Gary. Hopefully everyone's been brought up to date. This won't probably be a long one, but any comments on that, and then we can talk about the Tobin, what I call the Tobin experiment.
Yeah. Well, I think the point is to get to these simple experiments that haven't been done, like the idea of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour and a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour. I'm saying that if you really were able to do this tug of war, that the two trains have the same capacity to change the universe. So if I could give the example of just a cart experiment, if we could do it in space, if I could throw a 1-mass object at a 2-mass object at its center of mass, it's logical for you to think about, well, what's the implications if I have 130 momentum going in one, I start with 100 and I have 130 going forward and I have a 30 going backwards into the universe. Just as an energy equation, if you thought of those carts as being elements of heat, you would understand that now I have 160 watts or calories or Celsius of heat in the universe. So I started with 100 elements of heat and I have 160 elements of heat. That logically that couldn't be sustained, that the universe would be getting hotter and hotter and hotter, based on the fact that smaller things are always going to be hitting bigger things, so to speak, in terms of giving their energy from the bottom up. And so you'd say the whole universe should be melting because of this perpetual increase in heat. So I'm just saying there's lots of ways to metaphor it. I can use levers, I can use different objects and say even these 10,000-year-old lever is going to tell you that they have to have the same energy because I can balance the two things on a lever. I can have a 10 mass, a one mass on one side oscillating at a higher velocity than the 2 masses oscillating on the other side. So I clearly can create the visual experiment. And the fact is we don't have a single one of those simple experiments in a video form where we could just show it and say, see, there it is right there in front of you. And again, it goes to the history. I think the history is really important for people to understand that Newton didn't say this. F equals ma isn't his formula. He was alive when Leibniz was alive, who invented it, and he did argue against it, so it's clearly not his mechanics. And that they changed it 100 years later. They changed the formula, put a 1/2 in front of it. Who's changed? They proved a formula with experiments and then changed the formula by a 50%, a huge margin of error. 50%, if a scientist does an experiment and has a 50% margin of error, that's gigantic. And these are all good reasons to doubt that the kinetic energy formula has any veracity.
I think, though, that the kinetic energy formula does seem to work in these two experiments that we've seen. It does seem to be conserved. I'm not saying it's right, it does seem to be conserved. And the fudging, the putting of the half right in front of the formula, they just reduced the gap, really, right? That's why they used a half, right? Because they couldn't really get rid of the squared, because I think they needed it, because probably they'd use the equation in a lot of other things and it had suddenly become embedded, right, in lots of books and, materials.
The origin of the squared is the fact that when you're calculating for gravity, you always say the force is squared because you're saying it's per second per second. You're really
but
not
this is what
saying.
I don't understand.
You're
Gary,
not saying it's squared. You're saying it's happening every second there you have available. So it's really not a true square. You're really saying when they have per second squared, right? You really should be saying, if I'm going to describe the velocity of an object, I would say it's going 50 miles per hour. not hours squared. I don't say 50 miles per hours or hours squared, right? I mean, I know I'm using, the wrong, I should be using metric. But I'm just saying, I don't say kilometers. When I say kilometers, I don't say kilometers squared when I'm talking about a car's velocity. So why would I talk about a force as if it's seconds squared? So right there you have an incontinuity in the math where you're treating one object as seconds squared and another object as hours, no square.
But why are they squaring it? They're squaring it because what? They did drop experiments and
Gravitational experiments.
it was per second.
Well, yeah,
per second,
because gravity is a constant force that's hitting you all the time. No collision is a constant force.
Oh, this is an interesting point, but I thought it wasn't just bound by the Earth. I thought the conservation of these collisions, right, should work anywhere. That's the whole point.
They will work anywhere. I'm just
saying
saying
they didn't just have to be in a gravitational field. I'm really confused now. So you're saying the kinetic energy formula, Ke equals half mv squared should only work on the Earth?
No, of course I'm not saying that. So okay. I'm overtly saying that it works nowhere because you don't have any reason. Just like, again, if I say a car is going 50 kilometers per hour, I don't say 50 kilometers per hours.
Right, okay, let's wind back a sec. Maybe I've misunderstood. Right? It's probably my lack of understanding. I thought earlier that we were saying that the reason that they put this in, right, because they did these drop experiments essentially, is the squaring, which I've never understood by the way they're squared, right? I still don't really get where the square comes from. I think you were saying it's because it's meters per second, right?
Exactly. They write that as seconds squared. I'm just saying when they want to say meters per second, they write it as seconds squared. That's in the math, okay? Yep. And that's where the square comes from. And you know that's not a literal square. So technically that's not the definition of a square is, yes, it happens every second. That's not the same as squaring the number, right? So you can you know what I mean? You have 1 second. You're really not squaring 1 second. You're not squaring 2 seconds. You're saying it's 2 seconds every second. So it could be 50 million seconds or it could be 2 seconds. It could be either one. So it's clearly not an explicit square. Gravity does not give you a squared force. It gives you a force that's constant for the amount of time you're applying it. Just like going 50 miles an hour. It only applies to the period of time you're going 50 miles an hour. When you stop going 50 miles an hour, that's the end. So I'm saying that's where that's where the square in the math. I'm just explaining why the math has a square in it.
But that must be completely wrong, that square, right? Because they're doing a drop experiment, right? Okay? Right. On the Earth, right, where we have gravity, where we have acceleration of 9.8 meters per second, right? I think that's right.
That's the point. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, which is why that they put the square in, right? Because it's accelerate until it gets to some terminal velocity, right? That makes no sense to me. That makes even less sense to me why they added the square then, if that is the reason.
That's how it gets into the formula. I'm just explaining why F equals ma creates that formula, because the A isn't 50 miles an hour, right? It's 50 miles an hour squared. So if I was to use a car's speed and put it in the F equals ma form, right? What I'm saying to you explicitly is the form of that equation is when you see that A is seconds squared. It's not hours or minutes or seconds. It's seconds squared. So you'd have to put the same square on the hours, and you would understand now how stupid it would be if I said 50 miles an hour squared as a rate of velocity. You get it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it came from. That's where the square comes from, is F equals ma is not the rate of acceleration. It's the rate of acceleration squared.
Yeah, right.
That's where the math trick begins.
But surely that's just exactly the same as F equals ma then, right? If you're squaring it, right?
Well, I'm just saying if I was to tell you want the acceleration of my car and I say 50 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I would have to tell you, right? But you asked for the acceleration, right? So I'm just saying that I wouldn't say 50 miles an hour squared. So if we can agree that I would never talk about it if I was using hours or minutes, I would never square those.
No.
Okay, then you can accept that when they're squaring the seconds, they're doing it for an arbitrary reason, not some required reason.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned now that I've just realized that F equals ma is essentially the equation that they derived when they tilted it this way and she did her drop experiments, right?
Right. Well, I'm just saying you could just turn that around, and I could make the argument that if you take gravity and just move it horizontal, what are you really saying? The object's moving 1 meter per second, right? If you do the calculation, your weight is basically moving you 1 meter per second would give you exactly the same spring compression. Right? So if I move you 1 meter per second into a spring, I'll get the same weight reading I would get from gravity. So your net movement into the Earth is 1 meter per second. That's your net. Okay? Because when they say 9.8, it's not even the truth really, right? Because your velocity is only going to be 4.9 after 1 meter. You travel 1 meter.
Right,
it's only 4.9. You're not going 9.8. So that's always these little tricks, that you have to keep an eye on. And I'm just saying I'm just saying that the beginning of this formula, the history is an important part of understanding. I'm not just arguing that they don't have any evidence. I'm arguing that look at the history too. It's a really bad scientific history. It's not a good scientific history. All right.
It is.
It's full of deception and tricks and gimmicks, and it shouldn't just be taken for granted just because we've traditionally held onto it doesn't mean it's right, and it really needs a strict reevaluation of how they made that decision. Why did we make this choice to throw momentum in the bin and cling to this 1/2 mv squared?
And so before we end, coming back to the, and I'm going to write this thing up this afternoon and send it off to you and the other collaborator and hopefully get them engaged. They might see this video and get interested. Coming back to the message board, because I'm, less of a scientist, probably more of an engineer, because I do quite a bit of engineering and bits and pieces, fiddling around, hobby engineering really, practical things, right? As you've seen on my channel, some experiments and stuff like that. Not particularly good ones actually on the channel, but I actually know maybe the weight. I don't know, because I proved the variation in gravity by latitude and things. I don't know if I've ever actually put that up, but anyway, that's an experiment I did. Some various others, which is a really interesting one, right? In Egypt, I weighed the same on a set of scales, a set of digital scales, 100-gram weight, and then I weighed it in the UK, right? And of course it weighed slightly differently, right?
I saw the Al-Kahari video where he did that, the same experiment. They took things to different latitudes and they found out that it not only matters how high you are above sea level, it also, it matters where you are in the magnetic field of the Earth, and it matters what the hell kind of crap is right underneath you, because if it's a bunch of iron and a bunch of other stuff, you have more gravity,
Yeah, because I had a job just after I left uni, my first job, or actually while I was still a student, hawking this gravimeter around, right? Which is basically, it's you know what a gravimeter is, right? In case the audience don't.
Divining rod, one of those things.
No, so it's a tube, right, with no air in it. It looks like a pressure cooker. In the UK in the 70s, we had these things called pressure cookers, right?
Right.
So they're like one of those things that they degas.
So it's the opposite of a pressure cooker. It's a vacuum cooker.
Well, it is exactly. It's a vacuum, but it's in this very rigid construction, right, made out of aluminium, so you can hawk it around. And it's got a thing on it. It calibrates, and then basically what it does is it drops away, right, very accurately. You have to stabilize it. You have to move these little things to get it all level. It tells you it's level. You press a button. It does its thing.
Right. I saw that in the video. They had one of those, a very high tech one.
That's it. And you get these readings. So I already knew that gravity did vary around the globe, but I didn't think I'd be able to do it.
Even day to day, that's what they found out, right? When it's raining, the gravity changes when it's raining.
Yeah, which is amazing. I mean, also that genius. We're going down a sidetrack here, aren't we? But there was that genius, and I forgot his name. Begins with a B, and he actually died recently of cancer. Who worked for the U.S. Defense Department. He came up with a very novel detector for military aircraft, stealth aircraft, based on warping of gravity. That was really interesting, but you'd have to have something as big as LIGO, right, to actually be able to do it practically. But he came up with the formula and the equations for how gravity would be bent by an object like a stealth fighter, right, or a tank.
Well, that's the reason why gravity is relevant to the conversation is 300 years ago, gravity was everything. Okay, I mean that was the force that was around everybody all the time, and that's the one that was the diagram force. So when Newton talked about a force, he was 90% of the time or 99% of the time talking about gravity. He wasn't talking about collisions. He wasn't talking about other ways that energy is exchanged. He was talking about a very unique force that does very unique things, and it can't be applicable to everything else. Okay, everything else isn't gravity. Okay, and that, I think that's one of the reasons why everything got off on the wrong start, is everybody was confusing the terrestrial forces, if you want to call them that, with this universal force of gravity. So the other point I wanted to make is that, yes, I do sort of disagree with you that the most recent experiment we found is from a high school teacher. All right, and it's filmed decent, so you can do some things with it. Yes, there's some perspective change. If you look at the video, you can see the two timers are a different size because of a distortion in perspective. So being able to measure where the carts move and all that stuff. But in my calculations, when I did it, I found it perfectly consistent with momentum. The initial cart coming in has all of the energy, and all of the energy is back in the, if you count the direction going backwards and you add the direction going forward with a two-mass cart, yes, it's the wrong color. Okay, that's the trick. Okay, the cart is actually the wrong color from how they sell the cart. So it's actually a two-mass cart, not a three-mass cart. And if you throw that in, it all works out just fine. So I'm saying it's not a terrible, I'd say it's as good as the Arbor Scientific video in terms of having some integrity to debunk the Lewin experiment. So in my opinion,
I disagree on that, because
right,
I think you're
in my opinion it's perfectly consistent, and I can do a video explaining why I see it as perfectly consistent, but I went through it really meticulously yesterday, and it's solid. So in my opinion,
you're basing that on the length of the cart, aren't you, and the weight of the cart?
I'm saying that I would bet $1 billion that the red cart is exactly twice as long as the gold cart, and I bet $1 billion that it weighs exactly twice as much as the gold cart.
All right. I mean, okay. So putting that aside, still, the point is that we do need the experiment to be conducted.
It's got to be
data.
It's got to be beyond reasonable doubt. We can't be playing with, well, we have a half of a fingerprint, and we have a half of a DNA molecule, and we have a half of this and a half of that, and who wants to argue half pieces of evidence? Everybody here, everybody involved in this, trolls and me alike, whatever your position is, everyone should agree. I love evidence. Give me more data, more information. And the fact is that some of this hostility is coming out of things where you're saying, well, what are you arguing with? You don't need more evidence. I need more. I want more.
Yeah, let's close on that point. I think that what surprises me is a lot of people will be arguing about the math or the calculation or this, that, or the other thing, or that you've completely misunderstood. I love the people who go, you've completely misunderstood, and then just prove the same thing again and again and again and again, right? We already know, that the math can be consistent. That's fine. Math is consistent. Of course it is. I think that most reasonable people, or certainly me, would like to see it put to bed, because it's a relatively simple thing. This is not some extraneous form of physics where we need particle accelerators and quite complicated pieces of kit, right? This is some weights and some masses and an air track, right? We should be able to put this one to bed, and then find out what the answer is, right? Which I'm hoping we will do, because I think if we, which is always my way of solving these things, is to try to engage more people. Eventually we're going to come across someone who's either got this or access to it, and they'll go and do it, because it'll take, an hour? Couple of hours at most.
Well, this is the horror, isn't it? But I have attempted to do that. I have, emailed these high schools and these universities that have the air track, and made the request, could you please do this experiment? And and if it comes from more than just me, it will mean something. Okay, when enough people say, please do these fundamental physics experiments, they're important. Do them well. And because they haven't been done. I mean, to me, it's amazing that you can go on the internet and you can find 1,000 per second filmed air track experiments, and they don't tell you the mass of the carts. I mean,
so I have a different view on it, having dealt with conspiracies for a while. Right, I don't believe that anyone is deliberately not doing this. I just think that everyone accepts it as just so, written in stone that they don't even bother thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I think there's room to doubt the credibility of some of this stuff because they're using it as presentation science. When I saw that piece of clay on Professor Lewin's air track and I saw the tape measure turned upside down, I'm saying, why would any physicist turn a tape measure upside down?
The Lewin thing, I agree with you, is I put a big question mark on that one, right? Yeah. Full respect to Professor Lewin. I don't know him personally or his team who put the experiment together. Question mark on that one, right? But I don't believe Brenda Tobin is deliberately in on the conspiracy.
I'm not saying she's a conspirator. I'm saying I think we can argue she's a high school teacher. All right, she's really not a physicist. Okay, and frankly, she doesn't know what she's talking about because she doesn't even understand how the timer works.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't subtract the times. I mean, I've seen enough of those digital timers to know that's not how they work. Okay, the second time you get is the full measure of the actual time, and you can see that in the video. It's clear that the first number, 1700, that first number is the right number, not 14. You don't subtract the first velocity from the second velocity.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah. I've seen the timers. I've had to have seen at least 15 different electronic timed experiments. I mean, there's probably a lot more than that, but I'm saying I've seen the electronic timers before, and none of them work that way.
All right, we'll see. I've definitely seen incident counters that sum the times, because what she's saying is, just so everyone's clear, because Sherman can't see the clip, right? What she's saying is that it's got an initial time, right? And then it's got this like secondary time. And to get the time of the second cart when it returns back through, you take the first cart away from the total number.
Right. So I've never seen, in all the time videos I've seen with timers, I've never seen a single one that worked that way. So I'm just saying, in all the videos I've seen, not a single one of the delayed time register, the thing that has it records both times, I've never seen a single instance where it records the composite complete total time, and then you have to do subtractions. But anyway, it's a moot point. I'm saying that my own unit analysis of frame rate already proves the first time is the right time. The 1700 number is accurate. It is the correct distance. It works. It fits perfectly. So the first number is the right number.
If you think that Lewin's experiment is correct, I'm not saying it is, but if you think it is correct, right, she gets exactly the same result.
I'm sorry, it's not the same. I'm sorry, it's not even close to. It's not. So I mean, you're assuming the 3-mass cart. It's not a 3-mass cart. Okay, I'm saying you're making a couple assumptions that I am quite, like I said. You want to bet $1 billion? I'll do it. I mean, Veritasium did 10,000. We could do $1 billion bet. And we'll just say it's money. It's only money in the year 3000, right? So we get paid in the year 3000. But I mean, I'm just saying.
I'll have $1 billion quite soon. My cryptocurrency.
Okay. You're okay.
We'll mint this as an NFT,
right?
And
I can sell my eyes. I can sell stuff. So I'm willing to bet them. I'll put them. I'll see if I can get a mortgage, from the bank, and I'll see what I can work out.
I'm not going to take that bet. No. I don't think I might not win it, right? So anyway. Right, let's agree to disagree that we need better videos.
Well, I'm going to play the video. I'm going to do another video. I'm just going to play her video, and I'll explain everything I'm saying, and I'll show exactly. Look, you could even look in the display image for the 3 carts. They're filmed in different resolution. The gold cart, you can see because the top bar is a different thickness. They're filmed. One is bigger. They're out of perspective. So they were.
Oh yeah, the third
so you could never. It looks like it's a 3-mass cart, but it's the wrong dimensions. When you actually look at the carts, they're filmed in different perspective. The pieces are a different size.
So just do me one favor. When you do your debunk of Brenda's video to show how it proves, momentum perfectly, if you could just take the latest document, indeed the one I will send you later on today, we'll have it in, right? At least put my view in as well, right?
I'm going to publish yours.
Right? Yes, I think it's a 3 times cart, and I've done some memeasurements as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I
might be right. We might subsequently find out that
I'm just saying that it's going to. I think if I think you'd have to admit that I can just show the image from your own document of the red cart right next to the gold cart on the air track, and you can just look at that image and it's not 3 times longer. And my argument to you is it's just cut aluminum. Okay, it's
Yeah.
cut aluminum.
Yeah, it's not 3 times longer.
Okay, it's just cut aluminum.
I agree with that.
All right,
I agree with that.
so I know what it weighs. I'm really confident that it's not hollow aluminum. So, that one of them isn't made out of, blue cheese. They're both aluminum. They're made out of the same substance. You cut them by length. It's twice as
2
long.
and a bit. It's 2.2 or something in
Yeah,
scale.
I know, but it really isn't. If you look at the perspective being a little bit off, that fixes it. You just turn the perspective back to normal.
Gary, I measured it on the ruler.
I know, but there's still, look at the angle of the camera. I'm saying look at the angle of the camera. The angle of the camera is a little bit skewed. And so every object on the right side is a little bit smaller than it should actually be. So if you look at the 2 timers, you can see it. Look at the 2 timer boxes, and you'll see that one box looks bigger than the other.
It does,
okay, so that's what means you have to be careful when you're doing your ruler measurements on the screen. You have to take into account that one side of the screen is compressed compared to the other side of the screen.
By the way, I did 3 measurements, right? I did her ruler, which I think should be right. I did my ruler on the screen.
I know, I did this. I did exactly the same thing. I'm just saying, we're agreeing to disagree right now. I'm making an argument. You're making an argument. Okay, I'm just saying that I spent my 2 hours fiddling with the video and playing it 600 times.
It's a shame because it's a great video otherwise, right?
I'm just saying that I'm pretty confident. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to be impressed that I'm confident, but Gary's confident. It works out. Boom, the numbers are boom. Okay, they're not way off. They're boom, like 5% or less.
And this is the thing, right? If we don't have good data, it could be both, right? I could be absolutely right in, looking at the things she used and the times that she said.
Well, we really shouldn't have to go through the 10 factors we're considering, right? We're considering perspective. Exactly. We're considering the tape measures crooked. We're considering the 4 million reasons that we shouldn't have to consider. I agree 100%. Don't take my word on it.
What are the weights of the cards?
Right? Don't take my word. Exactly. Don't take my word for it. I'm just saying if I have to use 16 different logic arguments, then we're already in fail. But I'm saying that's exactly what science is doing right now. They're telling me I have to believe the Eddington experiment is proof that light is bent by gravity, right? But it's the only time they ever did the experiment, never successfully repeated. So it violates all their rules. And I have to go through a whole bunch of arguments about how all the other experiments are scatter experiments and explain this. It shouldn't be that way, right? We should all have a videotape from the space station showing the bending of light, right? We should have explicit, clear evidence because we should be able to produce it. 400 times better resolution from space. 400 times.
I'm not getting into this one.
I'm just bringing up the fact that it's a fair accusation to make that most of fundamental physics has not been clearly proven. All right? They keep telling you have to believe it because everybody believes it. But when I go looking for the evidence, they keep saying, well, here's my formula. Here's my formula. Here's my formula. They never give me the evidence.
So this is the problem. It starts to sound like... So a lot of the rhetoric that's used starts to sound like that familiar flat earth thing, right? Which is that it's a religion. I go along a bit with it is a bit religious, right? Because, until you really think about it and look at it, you're basing a lot of things on what you're told, right? But you have to live and work in a modern world. I do agree that these are fundamental things. And this one, right, KE, we should be able to put this to bed. So I just want to work on one. I don't want to go...
I understand. We can take it one at a time. I'm just saying that it does have to be understood in this context that this is not an aberration, okay? So this difficulty isn't just here in this specific argument. It's in all kinds of arguments where we really don't have good fundamental physical evidence. I'm just saying... that should disturb more than just me. I don't, you people don't have to be hysterical about it, but I'm just saying you sort of should concede that there's an awful lot of physics subjects, dark matter, I can go right down all the lists, where you have little physical evidence to basically defend what is, they've built monuments on top of this quicksand. I'm gonna cheer you up in a sec, right? So I went, before they did public visits, right, because I knew a scientist who worked at CERN. Okay, so I went to CERN, right? Only one of them, the Atlas experiment, right? There's like 3 sites, right? Because I was in Switzerland visiting my sister skiing, right? And so I got to go on a private visit, right, with my family. There's pictures of this, right? So I've definitely been there, right, with a hard hat and everything on. And they had it closed down at the time to CERN, okay?
talk about building like, castles on sand, right? I mean, the money, the sheer money, and the sheer expertise. I mean, amazing what they've built there. Whether we can search for things.
Well, I'm just saying that when you scratch at like scratching at LIGO, okay? I mean, they talk about, well, we shot light 2 miles down a tunnel. Oh, wait a minute, we do bounce it off 1,600 mirrors. Yeah, we bounce it back and forth between 2 mirrors 1,600 times. So yeah, we do that part. You know what I mean? I mean, there's so many little, like I said, you don't have to scratch very hard.
This is what I mean, and this is the problem at CERN. I can't validate. My opinion is that, I mean, even the guy that I knew, the scientist, who, by the way, they're all compartmentalized, which is interesting as well. So they don't really know what the others are doing.
Right, exactly. It's all specialties. All specialists. I'm a specialist. I mop the floor. That's what I do. I'm the floor mopper.
Whereas, it's only one guy out there who really knows what's going on, right? And no one can follow him, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's the cynic in me, right? But look, this one, we don't need CERN, right? We should be able to put this one to bed if I have to. If we don't get it solved within 2 or 3 months, I will go and buy a bloody air track, right, and do it myself.
Well, I'll chip in. I'll chip in. I'll chip in.
Right? We'll do it.
Okay. To any honest, let's get it done with somebody who can't be like. If I buy one, everybody's going to say I bent it. I did. I put glue on it. Right. I did some kind of bullshit.
Right, we'll try and find a way to do it, or go somewhere even pay someone.
Well, I think if enough of us, right? I say even if 10 of us signed an email and we sent it to MIT or we sent it to one of these places that has the air track and just asked them, could you please do this in a very nice?
Yeah, and we'll pay for your time.
Could you do this in a clinical manner and just resolve this dispute, because we're wasting a lot of neurons arguing something that shouldn't have to be argued.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So this is what we'll do. We'll keep doing our collaboration, get some more people. As I say, eventually we'll come across someone. If we involve more and more people, right, every person has a lot of connects, right? Eventually we'll find someone who's got access to it, right, sooner or later. Because, you knock around the scientific community long enough, you'll find someone, right? And they'll be able to do it, right? I'm sure. Because if you're interested in science, you won't want to be fiddling it. You'll just want to do it and show everyone, just here's the weight, here's some scales, here's the timer, I'm testing the timer, I'm showing you, I'm calibrating the timer.
See, the great news for me is I've already patented the free energy, the free momentum. See, I already have the patent on it, so I win either way. Either I look like, oh, what an idiot, you were talking shit, or I'm going to be the richest man in the world. So I am, I'm set. Frankly, either way it goes, I'm going to be happy. Either way it goes.
Make money off it, because the thing that frightens me, and I did mention it to you before, and I'm going to loop back there. I'm going to remind you of it again as we go on this journey, right? Okay. Let's just say somehow. I mean, number one, I suspect. Right. Here's my guess at the moment. At this point in time, right? I don't know the answer. Don't know what's down the road from here. Okay. Here's Toady being, having a guess. Right. I think that we will find that there'll be some element that has been overlooked relating to the momentum in that equation, to either do with a frame of reference or, I don't know, some craziness that's been overlooked, right? Because, the momentum, that seems to be gained, right? If it is free energy, again, coming back to Besler's wheel, right? I keep coming back to this, right? The way the wheel worked, right, was, they started it, and they claimed there was a woman living inside it, but she couldn't have been in there for 6 months, right, while it was going in this locked room. Anyway, presuming that they weren't idiots in the past, right, and they knew how to lock the rooms properly. This wheel, it started, and then it sped up and up and up, and they said it was only springs and weights, right? Very familiar to the air track, yeah? And if you were building one of these, you're not getting this huge effect, right, where it just starts up and it goes 100 miles an hour. It would be this sort of gradual build-up, right? Because, one of the things I want to do is, if we look at the experiment and the results are correct, so I know you disagree, but let's assume Lewin and Tobin are correct, right? What they're essentially saying is that little cart that you push in, when it hits the bigger cart is going 60% more. I think it's about 60% more, isn't it? Yeah. So you put 5 of them together, and I worked out it, more than doubles the amount of momentum, right? So all you do is you get a piece of paper that the little cart, when you push it in, can't break it, right? And then you put 5 of them on an air track, and you have the same bit of paper at the end, and it breaks the piece of paper, right? It's a practical test, yeah. I push it in, it can't break this piece of paper. I push it in the same speed, and now the paper's broken. You've got energy from nowhere, right? That's proven very simply on an air track.
Well, I'm just saying that that's why I'm confident it's not true, is because I'm confident you're not going to make perpetual energy, free energy machine. So I'm not going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be just acknowledged to be correct in my.
How did you patent it? How did you patent it?
Actually by making I exert my copyright by being the first person
Oh,
to acknowledge that this works. Okay, so it's my engine. And I've even detailed, how you make the perpetual engine machine. How I just bang it into a lever. I double the mass, double the mass, double the mass, double the mass, then I hit a lever, move it back the other way, and it just keeps going over and over again. I just siphon the energy off of my free energy device. So I already, it's my machine. I own it. Ooh, just thinking about the trillions of dollars.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
well, I'm just saying, I'm sure it's not going to happen. And so,
look, has the other thing I was thinking about just before we end, right? Because it's nice chatting. Has no one done a train? Like even in the early days of trains, they did do crazy things. And no one done a tug of war with two trains.
Well, it would be nice, but yeah, I wish maybe a movie did it. Just to film the spectacular crashing sounds and stuff. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Who knows if there's anything out there that duplicates it. Even the bowling ball example, the 8-pound ball versus the 16-pound ball, and just show those two on a bowling alley. Put a rope on them and just roll them in opposite directions and say which one wins. It's such a simple idea.
The trouble with the train is it would come down to friction again. So there'd be more weight on the heavier train. So it would get more friction on the rail, wouldn't it?
But it wouldn't matter, because the only thing that's going to matter is their total momentum in a direction. Well, because the momentum is both of them are going to consume all their energy in deformation. So both of them are going to deform. Neither one's going to move in either direction, because they're both just going to get hot and deform and vibrate and do all that crap, because they can't go the direction they want to go. So they have to go. The energy has to go in different directions.
Hang on. So how you said these two trains? Like you're putting the trains on the track and then starting them with a
get them the velocity, right? And you just have a rope that's that you have plenty of rope, and you just let them get to their velocity, and the rope tightens, and the two trains just go bang. I can't go anywhere. They're just stopped.
Friction on the rail is not going to come into play, Gary.
No, but they're both going to jump up in the air. Actually, they're both going to rise right off the track, because the pull force, the lack of ability to move, is going to mean they're going to have to change the direction of the motion. So both of them might even flip upside down, depending on how depending on how you make the train. I'm just saying.
Can't you do this quite easily then? Can't I go and get a Lego set with, they're pretty powerful, right?
I've shown videos of people stretch rubber bands with wooden blocks, and they have a one mass block on one side and then one mass block. They move at the same speed. Okay, they pull a one mass and a two mass. The two mass moves at half the speed. Then the three mass, it moves at 1/3 the speed. The one block always moves the same speed. So in my opinion, that's sort of the inverse. Okay, you don't have a collision, but you're showing that the rubber band is only giving half the energy to both sides. There's no unevenness in what it's doing. It's giving exactly half the momentum. You've got a rubber band
and you've got two blocks that you let go of.
Right. And there is friction, but I'm just saying it shows that it's always proportional, that even if it's a brick wall, this side only gets 100 momentums. No matter what's on this side, I can put a one mass block all the way to the Empire State Building, and this side always does the same thing.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying there are experiments. They're just all flawed in the sense that they're just wooden blocks and there's friction, so it's not a perfect experiment, right? So again, we really need somebody to do these on air tracks.
But hang on, couldn't we get rid of that easily? Just some ice, right? I don't know.
You don't realize how much there's. We understand ice as being 150 pound or 70 kilo objects, but when you try to do anything that's light on ice, you don't gain anything, because the adhesion between the water molecules, the ice melts, and the water creates that vacuum, and it's sticky. So it actually doesn't slide very well. It doesn't slide very
Really?
far. Yeah, it loses, light things lose a lot of energy to friction
So I
on
can't do it on
ice.
ice. I can't do something on ice, just a low friction environment like ice.
Unless it's heavy. Like I say, if you have something that weighs 10 pounds, you probably can. But who
I
wants
need to
to
go and
do...
think about this because there must be an experiment that I can do. Right, I need to think about this. Yeah, if you come up with some suggestions, I'd welcome them. Yeah.
Well, I did one simple one with ball bearings on a rail because it's very low friction, and a rubber band, and just to prove that, a twice mass object moves one half the speed. So I just wanted to prove that. So something I don't think I should have to prove, frankly, but yes, that the same stretch of a rubber band produces, if I put a 2 mass on the same stretch of rubber band, I get one half the velocity of a 1 mass. Just to prove the point that it's not 1.4 or 1.3 or any of that crap.
What are you proving there? Surely it should be half, should it not?
There's people who actually argue that it won't be, that you can't throw an 8-pound ball twice as fast as a 16-pound ball. They're basically arguing that you need more energy to do that. So you can't use the same force to make a twice mass object move half as fast. I can't throw a half, if I take a shot put and I make it half the mass, I can't throw it twice as far. So they're arguing that you can't, with the same force, throw a 1 mass object twice as far. They're saying you can't do that because they're conserving kinetic energy, and so they say it's not possible. So it's just the same argument as the 4 times as much gas, right? They say it takes 4 times as much gas to go twice the speed in a car. Well, obviously that means then that if you use twice as much gas, you can't go twice as fast. So that means that that doesn't make any sense.
Do people actually argue that?
Yes. They said the real physicists do the four times as much gas argument. That it takes 4 times. Yes. That's how.
I see. Because the only input is the energy.
It has to be right. They can't defend the kinetic art. They can't defend the theory unless they do it both ways. It's not just about outputs. It's about inputs. So if you're putting fuel in, you need 4 times as much fuel.
That should be easy to check.
Well, obviously they haven't done that experiment either.
No, but I mean, you get a hobby aeroplane. There'd be a million
I just mean that, yes, I'm saying the evidence is probably everybody has observed it in their own life. Like they know how often they go to the gas station, and they know they don't go to the gas station more.
I drive pretty fast.
The highway driving doesn't hurt them; it helps them. Okay, going faster isn't a liability; it's an asset.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Driving around town kills me.
Right. So let's
driving on the highway, isn't death to compare to
4 times as much money. You're not
exactly.
spilling gas on the road. So I'm just saying. Just saying.
Right. Nice to chat, and I'll be in touch today with the document.
Excellent. And so, hey, I'm enjoying these conversations. Besides being stimulating and educational and all that crap, I really appreciate a little bit of human interaction that doesn't have something to do with slandering the hell out of me.
No,
appreciate it. Okay. So that was good. I liked it. I just again, to all these people, I mean, either you're going to make me a billionaire, or you're going to have to accept that, I got this one right. I noticed something you didn't notice. It's not that big a deal to admit that. It's not that big a deal. Yeah, this has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. I think I can do that somewhere. I don't know. I have to somehow merge my Skype into my OBS a little better. So hopefully I'll improve the quality of these videos, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, till the next time.